Now, our next piece of procedure is the presentation of the Moot Prizes. Once again, along with the Central Conference, a highly successful Moot competition has taken place, and if our contestants are anything to judge by, the future of the legal professions within the Commonwealth is definitely assured. So I'd like to ask Mark Stevens to come up and assist me with this, or indeed to make the presentations to the teams. In terms of the Gale Moot Cup, the runners-up are Bond University of Australia in the shape of Ewan Coffey and Rupert Holden. And they're not here, unfortunately. They've been and gone, so we'll come back to them. And
I'll keep those for later.
The winners of the Commonwealth Moot Competition 2015, winners of the Gale Moot Cup, are the University of Toronto in Canada, Senior Counsel Samuel Green, Junior Counsel Ada Keown, and Reserve Joseph Bicker. Now, the best mooter of the general rounds in the Commonwealth Moot Competition is, I mentioned it before, Rupert Holden of Bond University in Australia. He's not here. Okay. Right, thank you. And the best mooter of the final round in the Commonwealth Moot Competition 2015, Samuel Green of the University of Toronto. And if you can also take the shield that is due to your team. Thanks very much. And the next stage of procedure is the LexisNexis Rule of Law Award. And I ask once again Mark Stevens and Nigel Roberts of LexisNexis to come up and announce this and make the presentation.
Thank you very much. I'm going to be very brief. As some of you may know already, I'm Nigel Roberts with LexisNexis. And on behalf of LexisNexis, I'd like to congratulate Upal Giasoria on this award. I'm humbled by his work and the amazing dedication he has and commitment to the rule of law. We were delighted to create this award with the Commonwealth Lawyers Association in 2013 and feel it's extremely important to support the award as part of our broader and ongoing commitment to the rule of law. We all share a common foundation, and we're very proud to have such a close relationship with the Commonwealth Lawyers Association, an organization that exists to maintain and promote the rule of law throughout the Commonwealth by ensuring an independent and efficient legal profession, and one that has made a strong commitment to the betterment of society through its human rights and rule of law projects. So thank you, Mark. And congratulations to Upal.
Mr. Mark Stevens, President of the CLA, Alex Ward, the incoming President, Alistair Morris, and Honorable Michael Kirby. Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters in law. It is no exaggeration that Sri Lanka is a land like no other. In my country, the climate year-round is between 18 to 30 degrees. Beautiful mountains, rivers, waterfalls, rainforests, and pristine beaches are just a few glimpses of what we have. We are rich in cultural heritage. Sigiriya frescoes is the eighth wonder in the world, the rock fortress. Our forefathers achieved independence from the colonial rulers in 1948 with universal suffrage, with a bloodless revolution. We inherited the best of the colonial education systems. We inherited the best of administration with a refined civil service, an immaculate foreign service, a forthright police service, an upright judicial service. Much of our rich inheritance was deprived from the nation since the end of the 30-year Civil War with the politicization of the executive. The office of the executive president overrode every other institution, and the number of terms the president could contest was made unlimited, unlike an earlier 2 terms that was incorporated in the original Constitution. And this was the introduction of the 18th Amendment to the Constitution. Deaths and disappearance of people remain unaccounted for. Torture was a common practice resorted to by law enforcement agencies, even in the most trivial of cases. Ordinary law and order deteriorated. Abductions for ransom of Tamil, Muslim, and Sinhalese became common. Persistent failures in accountability for grave human rights violations were abated by laws that vested police powers with the 3 armed forces, the Army, Navy, and the Air Force, by a draconian gazette that was published under the Public Securities Ordinance. It was unprecedented that the office of the Attorney General was placed directly under the President. For example, in one case, a politician indicted previously of double murder, and his charges were withdrawn and instead given a suspended sentence for unlawful assembly. Arrest and incarceration with political motivation was rampant. In another case, 5 persons indicted and sentenced to be executed after trial were pardoned by the President and released at the instance of a powerful minister. A minister's wife and a servant were charged and convicted for murder, but they walked away with clemency by the previous President. More than 30 prisoners killed inside a prison ended with no prosecution. Approximately 33 persons in custody were killed by the police, ended with no prosecutions. Journalists were attacked, kidnapped, murdered, and hounded out. Recently, it was reported in the Press Freedom Index that we were placed 162nd out of 179 countries. State violence proceeded with impunity. In many of such instances, the bar became vocal. We blamed not only the executive, but those who carried the orders of the executive. The Muslim minority repeatedly became subject to state-sponsored terrorism, wherein their place of business, factories, houses, and mosques were attacked by extremist hooligans. They masqueraded under the guise of protecting Buddhism, despite the glare of public scrutiny. The armed forces and the police forces in Aludgama and Beruwala watched and did nothing. The inference that the government protection and patronage, or at least the blessings of the first family, was afforded to the hoodlums was a reasonable presumption. Video recordings and individual testimonies of hate speech by them afforded sufficient reason for arrest under the Prevention of Terrorism Act. but no action was taken. The bar, headed by myself, took up the issues with the authorities. I urged the Attorney General and the Inspector General of Police to take action with letters that were made public to no avail. It is with this backdrop the Bar Association of Sri Lanka was at the forefront of the struggle to restore democracy and good governance, including the independence of the judiciary in the country during the last 2 years. Having just relinquished my office as president of the Bar Association, I feel humbly proud to have given leadership to the Bar Association during that critical period of time. With the passage of time, our resolve to go beyond matters affecting our profession gained momentum. The BASL was always alert to any anti-democratic moves and went beyond words to positive and meaningful action against such atrocities, irrespective of the personalities and personal sacrifice. As a professional body, we have been forthright and courageous in matters of public importance, come what may. In 2013, as His Honorable Kirby referred to, the Chief Justice, Dr. Shirani Bandaranayake, was illegally prevented from discharging her functions. Many appalling appointments were made to the Supreme Court and the Court of Appeal. We did not give up. We fought with vigor. The entire legal profession rallied round, and the bar did not rest. When the fury and the rage of the executive was focused on the judiciary, in the past, we took up the cause of the oppressed and carried the flag ahead and declared war against those responsible. It is we who place this issue of rule of law before the people's court. I too was called upon to pay the price. I thought to myself that only when we are no longer afraid do we begin to live. State-sponsored goons from the State Intelligence Service were trailing behind me with specific orders. But I survived. The entire bar and the media supported me. The civil society supported me. The then Prime Minister admitted in Parliament just that Jayasuriya was followed by these men. Permit me to quote Nelson Mandela. I learned that the courage is not the absence of fear, but the triumph over it. The brave man is not he who does not feel afraid, but he who conquers that fear. We march towards independence of judiciary. It's a triumph of the values that we stood for. Edmund Burke, in 17th century, said, the only thing necessary for the triumph of the evil is for good men to do nothing. We never rested until sanity was restored. Today, we are able to look back with pride when democracy is being re-established. The 43rd Chief Justice, Dr. Bandaranayake, lost her job when she sat in judgment on a bill that was passed that controlled 80 billion rupees, and the control of that was vested in a minister who happened to be the brother of the Rajapaksa president. When she held that certain provisions of this bill were unconstitutional and that required a referendum, she lost her job. The 19th Amendment, after the new regime was brought in, was placed before the Supreme Court for a ruling. And the bench of judges have held certain provisions of the same bill requires a special referendum to be held. The government have thought it fit to remove those sections and then go before the parliament with a two-thirds majority. This is the difference that we are now facing. A presidential election was called in 2014 and held on the 8th of January 2015. We, the bar, was never politicized. But we had the courage and the guts to point the finger to the rulers, the authorities, and the police, and to draw the line and say, no more. Since the new era that dawned on the 8th of January 2015, with the election of the new president, there have been great many achievements. The 43rd Chief Justice was reinstated, Dr. Shirani Bandaranaike. I take pride in saying that I was involved in the process, and the President and the Prime Minister put their foot down and said, there shall be no impeachment because, as His Lordship Justice Kirby referred to, he never held the office. It was considered he never held the office. A man who never held the office could not be impeached. So therefore, the rightfully appointed Chief Justice, Dr. Bandaranaike, was asked to take her rightful chair. She sat on this chair just for one day. She acted with dignity and tendered her resignation after she was vindicated of all her charges. And we are even more proud that a new Chief Justice was inducted the very next day, the most senior judge of the Supreme Court, and happens to be from a minority community, a Tamil. We are happy about it. And I am even more happy that my successor to office in the Bar Association of Sri Lanka is, for the first time after 40 years, we are having another Tamil in my post as the President of the Bar Association. Several new appointments to the Supreme Court and the Court of Appeal have been made on merit and eminency. The constitutional amendment to shred the dictatorial powers of the executive presidency is now before the Parliament. It is incorporated in this same amendment that the appointment of judges to the Supreme Court and the Court of Appeal, the Bar Association of Sri Lanka, shall also be consulted along with the Chief Justice, the President of the Court of Appeal, and the Attorney General. The Right to Information Act is also before the Parliament. The right to information is also made a fundamental right in the new amendment to the Constitution, which was never in the past. The draconian gazette transferring police powers to the Army, Navy, and the Air Force have now been rescinded. After a long journey of hatred, revulsion, abhorrence, and turbulence, we now have reached a phase of tranquility, serenity, and harmony, all with the power of the ballot, not the bullet. We have reached the distant dawn. The people of Sri Lanka have been afforded a new lease of life. They have paid for it. We, the Sri Lankans, owe it to them. We, the Bar, owe it to them. We can now be happy and content with the Sri Lankan situation, but we cannot rest. It is not rosy in our neighborhood. We heard at the conference that the situation in Bangladesh is not acceptable. The state of affairs in Malaysia is shocking. It is very likely that our dear friend, my dear friend Chris Leon, the former president of the Malaysian Bar Association, who just relinquished office, is facing imminent arrest for exercising his freedom of expression. A new law has been passed in Malaysia just a week back on sedition with a mandatory jail term of 5 years and could go up to 20 years. It is our duty and obligation to pressurize the respective governments to drive sanity. Their failure to act democratically should result in such governments, their representatives, and their lawmakers being denied visas to Commonwealth countries. This was a statement which was originally made by Sir Geoffrey Robertson when he issued the report on the Sri Lankan Chief Justice. He said that all those parliamentarians who raised their hands in support of this illegal impeachment should be denied with visas to the Commonwealth. At this August Assembly 2 years ago, at the Commonwealth conference that was held in Cape Town, a resolution was passed due to the impeachment process that was going on, that the Chogam shall not be held in Sri Lanka, but it was held in Sri Lanka. But the price that had to be paid for all that was much higher by the then Executive President Rajapaksa. If you undermine or subvert the rule of law in the belief that by so doing, you will protect your regime or system of government. You will be the destroyer of what you seek to protect and preserve. It is the duty of the legal fraternity world over to be resilient and robust in guarding against the danger of providing a fig leaf of legal respectability to what in reality are oppressive, unfair, and unjust systems of law and government devoid of rule of law. My dear colleagues, whichever part of the world you come from, do not forget that we are bounded by a golden thread of our fraternity. This award that was presented to me is in recognition of our struggle, the struggle of the legal fraternity that I headed during my 2-year regime. For those who were deprived of their rights and most often had to make the supreme sacrifice. This award also entails another cash reward of $5,000, I'm told. I consider that it does not belong to me. It belongs to those who had to make that sacrifice for a better tomorrow, for the betterment of the nation. One such person among many is journalist Prageet Eknaligoda. He was snatched away by a white van and was never heard of. I say with humility that this reward, the cash reward, will be presented by me to Mrs. Pradeep Eknaligoda. And her 2 minor children, and she is struggling her way to make them survive by just selling lunch packets on the road. I will do that in memory of CLA and LexisNexis, the sponsors of the award. Thank you, LexisNexis. What does it mean to me? What does it mean to us in Sri Lanka? We too had critics, particularly those who were made uncomfortable with our courage to take up the cause of the rule of law against the high and the mighty. Your recognition has made us stronger in our endeavors. Permit me to place on record my sincere appreciation to the panel of judges who decided to present this prestigious award on rule of law, LexisNexis, who sponsored the award, and to the Commonwealth Lawyers Association for the honor you have conferred upon me, my country, the Bar Association of Sri Lanka, and the legal fraternity of Sri Lanka, who stood by me with all the support and encouragement, without whose support we would not have been able to achieve the impossible. Thank you.
Thank you very much. As we move through the final stages of the ceremony, I call upon incoming Commonwealth Lawyers Association President Alex Ward to come forward.
Thank you. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. This conference has been fantastic. I don't need to tell you, and Michael said last night, I think it was one of the best dinners I've ever been to. It was brilliant. Well done, Scotland. So, the next business is, where is the next conference? That's what you're interested in. The next CLC, the conference like this one, will be in 2017, 2 years' time. Now, there is not yet a venue for that conference. We'll have tenders for that in about 4 months' time. So if you've seen this and you want to emulate it, you want to try, it's Michael Kirby's challenge to have a better closing night party than last night. If you want to take that up, do be mindful. We'll be calling for tenders. But what we do have, ladies and gentlemen, is another conference next year. It's a very exciting conference, and I'm going to tell you about that. It's a master workshop is the way we're looking at it. Very practical conference on issues of commercial and business, on banking, on corporate social responsibility, dispute resolution, cyber crime, cyber banking. Who uses money these days? You just touch the card, where's the money going? These sorts of issues we're taking for granted. It's all going to be like this. The location, ladies and gentlemen, it's going to be warm, okay? So there's a contrast. It's going to be warm, it's going to be by the sea. Of course, it is Cyprus. Professor. Here's a little taste. There it is. Now we have bookmarks here that you can take with you, which sets out the Cyprus. And here we have from our Cypriot friends a sample of what you will expect at this conference. Well, there will be some law there as well, as I understand it. But there it is, that's Cyprus. So do make a day for that. It looks fantastic. It's what the commercial and business lawyers get up to, not the human rights ones. Now, ladies and gentlemen, the next item of business that we have is that after much thought, there's much more aggression and arguments over what I'm about to tell you than anything else in the CLA for the last 2 years. That is, we have a new logo for the CLA. And it's my joy to deliver this for you now with the magic lantern. Voila. What do you think? Oh, you'll get used to it. That's our new logo. I think that gives a nice fresh aspect to the CLA, brings us into the future. Yes, yes, thank you very much.
Well, Alex, don't go far away because the next little ceremony is a very crucial one. The presidency of the association changes at the end of the biennial conference. This is done by way of flag exchange. And I would ask outgoing President Mark Stevens to come up over here. And Alex is still here. both of you to carry out the ceremony. And a little gift to show our appreciation for Mark's work over the last 2 years. He's been a fantastic president. Thanks very much. And we're nearly there. I now call upon Alistair Morris, President of the host organisation of the conference, the Law Society of Scotland, to close the conference. Alistair.
Ladies and gentlemen, I know that the first thing that's going to be on the shopping list is a new flag with a new logo. Well, what a week, or it feels like a week, this has been. From our point of view, it's been 27 months in the planning, over 120 speakers across 52 different sessions throughout 4 days, and a true mix of Scottish weather. Sun, rain, cloud, and yes, it's been cold. We've had thoughtful and challenging sessions, tremendous speeches. We've debated some tough issues and asked some difficult questions, none perhaps more so than this morning. But we've also heard some inspiring stories, enjoyed good humour, and certainly had a lot of fun. It's been, quite simply, a pleasure and an honour for us to host lawyers from across the Commonwealth throughout this week. At the opening ceremony, I spoke of a special bond that connects lawyers. Lawyers who may come from different countries, who may be involved in different areas of work, but who are still connected through commitment and a determination to uphold the concepts of fairness, justice, and the rule of law. That bond has been on display throughout this week. I've found it motivating and humbling to see. Events like this take an enormous amount of planning and organisation. On behalf of the Law Society of Scotland, I wish to add my thanks to the fantastic team here at the Scottish Exhibition Centre, the Glasgow City Marketing Bureau, and the wider City of Glasgow for looking after us so well. They have shown yet again why this remains one of the premier conference cities anywhere in the world. I also wish to thank all our chairs and speakers who throughout the 4 days turned imaginative concepts and ideas into real, practical and engaging sessions. Many, many people throughout the 4 days have spoken to me about how much they have enjoyed and how much they've been exercised by the content of those sessions. I also wish to thank Anne and the rest of the team from Happening for their organisation and stewardship of the conference. I have to admit there have been times leading up to the last 4 days when I have been concerned, but it has all been swept aside by the euphoria of what has happened here. We benefited enormously from Happening's expertise, knowledge, and no small amount of calmness and determination. I, of course, also want to thank our friends at the CLA, Mark Stephen, Laurie Watt, Catherine Eden-Haig, wherever she is, and the wider council, and I wish them well as an organisation for the future. I thank the good friends and colleagues who have worked so hard on our local organising committee and our content programme committee. We simply couldn't have put on the conference without their sound judgment, brilliant ideas, creative thinking and friendship network. But if you will indulge me or allow me, there is someone else that I would like to give special mention to. For the last 2 years, Katie Hay from the Law Society executive team has been seconded to work full-time on this conference. it has been a major task. The whole event, the planning and execution, has benefited from Katie's professionalism and judgment, her unrelenting positive outlook and good humour, and her immense patience and understanding. I know that I speak on behalf of my Vice President, Christine McClintock, our Chief Executive, Lorna Jack, and everyone else at the Law Society of Scotland when I say how proud we are of you, Katie, for all that you have done. Now, Katie could not have sat further away from the stage if she had tried, but Katie, can I please ask you to come to the stage and collect a specific gift? So, ladies and gentlemen, and as we've become friends, so too the 2015 Commonwealth Law Conference comes to an end. Although we don't know who our successors will be in 2017, I wish them all the best. And I certainly look interested in going to Cyprus next year. Lorna, did you hear that? Or was it Christine? But my final message is to all of you. Thank you for coming. Thank you for participating, and thank you for enjoying our conference. For those of you who live in Scotland, I hope you have enjoyed engaging with fellow lawyers from across the Commonwealth, and I hope that you have made contacts and friendships which will last for years to come. And to those of you who have come from outside Scotland, I hope you have enjoyed your short visit to this city and our country. I wish you a safe travel home and offer you a simple Scottish message. Haste ye back, come back soon. I promise you the warmest of welcomes. Thank you.